In the deep covens of Ghana, a high-ranking warlock rose through the ranks by carrying out wicked midnight missions, stealing destinies, planting sickness, silencing prayers, and releasing curses. For years, he succeeded. But one night, everything changed. On an assignment to frustrate a young pastor, he encountered something no power of darkness could withstand. The pastor's strange prayers summoned the mysterious ravenous bears of judgment, and what followed left the warlock wounded, broken, and forever chained. This is his confession. My name is Kwaku, and I am from Kumasi, Ghana. For over 15 years, I was deeply rooted in witchcraft. I was no ordinary initiate. I was a high-ranking warlock, feared in the spiritual world and respected in the covens that stretched from Accra to Lagos. I was recruited as a teenager when my grandmother took me to a secret shrine in the Ashanti region. There, my blood was mixed with incantations, and I was marked with spiritual tattoos, invisible to the human eye. From that day, my destiny was tied to the dark powers. As the years went by, I became an instrument of terror in the spiritual realm. I was assigned countless missions, and my ability to project myself out of my body at night gave me a dangerous advantage. While others slept, I moved in the night, operating in the unseen. My assignments were not always to kill, no. Death was often considered the last option. Instead, I was sent to manipulate destinies, to frustrate prayers, and to block the light of men and women who carried divine purpose. On one particular week in 2021, I was given 4 major assignments. I will share them with you so you will understand the depth of spiritual warfare many people are unaware of. I was sent to Accra to a young woman who had just graduated from the University of Ghana, Legon. This woman was destined for greatness. Doors of international scholarships were opening for her. My mission was simple: to exchange her glory with that of a useless man in the village who had no calling or purpose. I entered her dream that night, disguised as a handsome suitor. I placed a spiritual crown on her head, and as soon as she accepted it, her real crown of glory was removed. Weeks later, she began to struggle. Rejection followed her everywhere. She lost opportunities she had worked so hard for. Her parents could not understand it, but I knew I had succeeded. Another mission took me to Takoradi, to a man in his late 40s. He was strong, wealthy, and planning to expand his business. But the altars in our coven marked him for sickness, to waste his money and strength. That night, I projected into his house as a shadow and whispered incantations into his ears. I released the spirit of strange sickness into his bloodstream. The next morning, he woke up weak, coughing blood. From hospital to hospital he went, yet no doctor could explain the disease. While his family cried, we in the coven laughed because I had planted the affliction. The third mission was to a young pastor in Cape Coast. His prayer fire was disturbing our networks, and the witches in the area complained that their meetings were no longer effective because of his midnight prayers. I was assigned to quench his fire. I projected into his room around 2 a.m. and released heavy clouds of sleep upon him. I whispered words of discouragement into his mind. What is the point of these prayers? You are wasting your time. Sleep. Slowly, his prayer fire began to weaken. That was how many churches lost their power, by agents like me assigned to weaken their pastors. The fourth mission was to a married woman in Kumasi who was 3 months pregnant. She had suffered miscarriages before, and her case was brought to us. My job was to ensure that she never carried a child to term. That night, I entered her room in spirit form, placed my hand on her womb, and invoked words of miscarriage. At the same time, I released the spirit of disappointment into her husband's business. By the next month, her pregnancy was gone, and her husband lost a major contract. To the physical eyes, it looked like coincidence, but in truth, I was behind it. I had completed these 4 assignments successfully, and my rank in the coven increased. But then came the night that changed everything. I was given a midnight mission in Accra to frustrate the prayers of a certain pastor who was standing in the gap for his church. This man's prayers were troubling our operations, and I was to silence him. Confident as always, I projected myself into the spirit realm and began to move toward his house. But as I approached, I heard his voice. He was praying strange prayers I had never encountered before. His words echoed like thunder in the spirit, shaking my body. The moment he began to pray about ravenous birds, I felt weak. My movement slowed, and my spiritual sight became blurry. His voice seemed to flow everywhere. His voice seemed to follow me everywhere, and I could not escape this sound. This is what I heard him pray. Father, let the mystery of the ravenous birds trouble the troublers of my ministry and destiny in the name of Jesus. O ravenous birds, arise in anger, attack any satanic bird assigned against me in the name of Jesus. Father, let the weapon of the ravenous birds move into every complex situation terrorizing my destiny. O company of ravenous birds, move in an uncommon way and attack every enemy of my progress in the name of Jesus. Every satanic bird assigned against my destiny be destroyed by the ravenous birds in the mighty name of Jesus. Let the heavens command ravenous birds to fight my battles for me in the name of Jesus. O ravenous birds from heaven, eat up all eaters of flesh in the name of Jesus. With each prayer point, I grew weaker. It felt as though chains were binding my spirit. My wings, which I used for swift movement in the astral realm, became heavy as stones. Suddenly, I saw them. Out of nowhere, huge birds appeared, their eyes burning like fire. One massive bird, larger than any I had ever seen, swooped down and grabbed me by the shoulders. I screamed, but no sound came out. Smaller birds followed, pecking at my body. I was trapped. I could no longer move freely. My power was gone. The very birds he prayed about had become real. Spiritual warriors sent from heaven. They carried me away from his house, dragging me like a defeated captive. That was the night I realized the power of targeted prayers. That was the night the birds of judgment captured me on my midnight mission. My message to you who hear my confession is this: never underestimate the power of prayer. When a child of God rises at midnight and calls upon heaven, the covens of darkness tremble. Many who think their problems are ordinary are actually fighting unseen battles. But with the right prayers, victory is guaranteed. This is my confession on Whispers Beyond the Veil.